What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rant Review. We are talking today about the recent comments from Triple H. And by the end of this video, you'll know whether or not I think his comments are on point or he's absolutely lost his mind. Before we get into that, of course, this being YouTube, I like to invite you guys to take a sledgehammer and just knock it into that like button. Just obliterate it. Knock it out of the damn arena if you can. It does help the YouTube algorithm. Let other people who are interested in sports entertainment and this topic know about it. So I thank you very much in advance for doing that. Let's get on with the video. So Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque, whatever you want to call him, being obviously a prominent member of the McMahon family and a prominent person in WWE, he created, invented, and is in charge of NXT. He had some rather pointed comments towards the fan base. Now, this is nothing new. WWE has low-key kind of insulted the fan base, not only their own fan base, but the general wrestling fan base for quite a while. And they can do it because they had a monopoly on the industry, but that monopoly no longer exists. In as much as that I think about a third of the wrestling industry in North America is now looking at other things. They still have that other 2/3 that they completely control. You see it all the time on social media. Those people love anything WWE and they can't stand anything not WWE in the wrestling space, which makes no sense to me, but that's the way it is. But asked recently in an interview, Triple H gave some of his thoughts on what the community is like, and a lot of people have some strong opinions about it, and we'll talk about what he said right here. And he's quoted as saying, "The fans ruin their own stuff half the time trying to figure out where everything goes and why it's going there and how, and then trying to pick up their phone and go search for the thing to find out what it is that can ruin it for them so they're not surprised when it happens. I don't understand that. I'm thrilled with what the brand is. I'm happy where it is. Do I want it to get better? Yes. Do I want it to grow? Yes. Do I want it to expand? Yes." Now keep in mind, this is all in reference to him talking about NXT in particular, not WWE as a whole, but you could probably extrapolate that to be also for WWE and a lot of the criticisms that the wrestling community gives WWE. He goes on to say, "But again, people will take this line, use it out of context. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not here to make a brand that's around for a few years or a few minutes. I want it to be long-term, and how is it going to be long-term? It's going to morph and evolve. It shouldn't be the same. If it's the same 3 years from now or 4 years from now as it is right now, we made a mistake. It's just like people, you grow. If you're the same person 4 years from now, you didn't grow." Now, there's a part of this, too, where he kind of says, if you don't like the product, don't watch it. And I got my opinions on this, and it may surprise a few people what I think. If you've been following my channel for any number of time, and especially the stuff where I talk about pro wrestling and sports entertainment, you know that a couple of years ago, I got into this mode of, it was around the first Crown Jewel show when that whole Khashoggi thing came out, and I was like, you know what? I don't know how much longer I'm going to be watching WWE as a fan on a regular basis, because this company's just repeatedly done things both on the business side and on the creative side that I just am not good with. I don't enjoy a lot of the creative that they do. I'm not really happy with some of the business decisions that they've made, but WWE is WWE. It is still the biggest wrestling company in the world. However, I also decidedly stopped watching WWE. I haven't watched a Raw, I haven't watched a SmackDown, and gotten a full show in God knows how long. And I did what Triple H said. I stopped watching. I didn't even know, I completely missed the last pay-per-view. I didn't even know it happened until like a week later, and I was like, oh yeah, there was a pay-per-view the other week, because my interest in the product just isn't there anymore. I'm far more interested in AEW and New Japan than I am in what's going on with WWE. And like I said, there's probably about a third of the fan base in North America that feels the same way. That, however, is not something that I think would come out of the mouth of a corporate executive, especially a high-ranking corporate executive in the world's biggest sports entertainment company. Is Triple H right by saying this? He's not saying anything that I haven't said on this channel. In fact, I'm happy he said it, because it's a bit of honesty. It's not them in tongue-in-cheek kind of side-dooring it through JBL or through Mark Rosenberg or on a Booker T podcast or whatever it is. These kind of side slants towards the fan base. It's directly from Triple H, and I like that level of honesty. However, there's a part of the wrestling community that's really upset with him for this honesty. Again, from a business perspective, telling people not to watch the show doesn't make any sense. despite the fact that, and some of you know I do Wrestling with Finance, which is a financial channel, WWE stock has gone up tremendously over the last week because it's been wrapped up in that meme stock thing, which I'll talk about more on my Wrestling with Finance channel this coming week. But it's not really going to hurt the business. In fact, there's very little WWE can do as far as the money coming in to hurt its business. Viewership, that's a different thing. NXT essentially lost the Wednesday Night Wars. I mean, or the skirmish, if you want to call it a war. It went on for about, a year and a half. AEW, more times than not, beat NXT in the ratings on Wednesday nights. And then now that neither show is on Wednesday nights for the next couple of weeks, it's showing a little bit more that NXT's ratings have stabilized. And they, on Tuesday nights, a lot of people have said NXT's been better than it's been in about a year or so since they moved to Tuesday nights. Is Triple H happy that they lost the war? No. I'm sure and as he said here, he's been saying this for a long time. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's a good way to concede that, yeah, we lost that, but overall, WWE overall is going to be a better product as far as business is concerned than AEW, and we most likely will outlast AEW, and the history proves that. WWE has outlasted every other wrestling company in North America. Stampede Wrestling, AWA, ECW, WCW, Jim Crockett, even the incarnation of TNA, which is now Impact, which is not even really the same company anymore. They've outlasted Lucha Underground. They've outlasted everybody. And I think what Triple H is getting at here is that they're going to outlast probably AEW too. That's about 50-50 right now is what I think. I mean, it seems like Tony Khan and everybody associated with AEW is pretty much dedicated to being, the inheritors of the legacy of WCW. You see that more and more every single day. But what really is irking a lot of fans is him talking about how they whine and complain about everything. And I don't disagree with him here. I've said this for a while. A lot of fans ruin their stuff. I don't do prediction videos on this channel. I don't really like prediction videos. I don't really give star ratings. I don't do any of that stuff because I think for wrestling, it's a bit of an over-analysis of it. And to the extent that so much, especially here on YouTube, of the wrestling community is so into looking at every little thing, every little word and every little promo and who was on the show this week and who wasn't on the show that week and is this person buried or this person pushed, who got released. In fact, a lot of people thought last year when all those people got released, even though WWE does that like multiple times every year, it was the darkest day in the history of wrestling, which it wasn't. We spend a lot more time looking at that stuff and analyzing that stuff than analyzing the actual stories that's going on the shows. It's even started to trickle over to AEW now. You see a lot of people now more worried about what's going on with them being on TNT and TBS than what's actually happening on Dynamite. And that's a bad thing for the wrestling industry as a whole. If you are a fan of The Walking Dead, as you guys know I am, or if you're a fan of Game of Thrones, or if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, or any of these great TV shows that have been out, how much time, if literally speaking, and I know a lot of wrestling fans don't watch anything else but wrestling, but a lot of those communities did not spend a lot of time sitting around talking about what was going on behind the scenes. There was some talk about that. There's a lot of talk. There has been a lot of talk about what's going on with The Walking Dead over the last couple of years because of its drop in popularity. But they don't spend a lot of time talking about it. The majority of the talk about the show is about what's going on the show. Where is Rick? Where's Rick coming back? Is Michonne coming back? What happened to this person? Where's Heath? What does this mean? What does that mean? They're invested in the storylines. The wrestling community, we tend to spend 90% of our time talking about all the backstage stuff. The Vince McMahon sneeze today. The Triple H say something to Tony Khan. The Tony Khan say something to Nick Khan. And Nick Khan do this deal with New Japan. And that's what we focus on. And there's not a lot of interest in the actual product. And I think when they do something that's interesting, whether it be The Fiend, whether it be Darby Allin teaming with Sting in AEW, whether it be what's going on with Roman Reigns and everything else, we as a community tend to overanalyze the hell out of this stuff, and that's both the fault of the community and the fault of the promotions. It's a clear fault of the promotions because clearly what they're producing on their shows is not of overwhelming interest to us that we're talking about that. We're talking about contracts and who's getting released and where they might be going and comparing ratings and stuff. Like, where does that happen anywhere else? So to an extent, I do agree with Triple H that yes, we as a community spend way too much time focusing on ratings and and contract signings and backstage booking and who's writing a show and then trying to write the show ourselves and then being, as he's even said, trying to write the show ourselves, looking up stuff. And then so when we're disappointed when something doesn't happen the way we thought it should happen, or when it does happen in a bad way that we knew that was going to happen, we do spend too much time doing that. But again, it's also on the shows because they're not producing. Their job is to produce content that gets us not talking about that gets us talking about what's going on the show. I want to know what's going on with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and the Uso brothers in the split there. I want to know what's happening with Daniel Bryan. I want to know what's happening with Edge. I want to know what's happening with AEW bringing on Mark Henry and the Big Show and Miro. And I want to know those things. I want to talk about that more than I want to talk about backstage stuff. So ultimately, in the end, I can't disagree with Triple H on the substance of what he said. Whether or not he should be the one to say it, that's a different story. I don't think he should be the one to say it. But again, WWE gets criticized. This is kind of like a no-win situation for them. They get criticized when they don't address things realistically and they don't say anything about it and they try to wash over and gloss over everything. But then when somebody does say something truthful, then everybody goes, you shouldn't say that. So again, no-win situation for the poor guys over there. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, if you like this video, hit the like button. And again, take that sledgehammer and just obliterate the subscribe button while you're doing it. Also, I got some free goodies down in the description box for you guys as well, so check that out if you can. I will see you guys next time for more news, rumors, and reviews here on the Rantin Review. Have a good day.